I'm reading The Little Prince tonight, and I'll be translating it myself from the French, because the French version is the only one I still have. So it says Le Petit Prince Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, avec Dessin de Parloteur, which means The Little Prince, by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, with drawings by the author. Oh man, even the dedication is funny, so I'm gonna read it. Well, and with his sense of humor. Allez, on verra. Je demande pardon aux enfants d'avoir dédié ce livre à une grande personne. J'ai une excuse sérieuse. Cette grande personne est le meilleur ami que j'ai au monde. So what he says is, I beg pardon of the children for having dedicated this book to a grown-up, a big person. I have a very serious excuse. This big person is the best friend I have in the world. J'ai une autre excuse. Cette grande personne peut tout comprendre, même les livres pour enfants. Sorry, it's been a long time since I spoke French. I have another excuse. This big person, this grown-up, can understand everything, even books for children. I'll just read in English from now on, because these are my own translations. So I have a third excuse. This big person lives in France, where she's hungry and cold. She really needs to be consoled. And all these excuses aren't good enough. If all these excuses aren't good enough, I can dedicate this book to the children who this grown-up once was. All these grown-ups were once children. And between us, very few of them remember that. So I'm correcting my dedication to Léon Vert when he was a little boy. Okay. So, The Little Prince. Okay, so I gotta show you the pictures. I don't know if you remember these pictures. Right? Okay, so, when I was 6 years old, I saw one time a magnificent image in this book called The Ancient Forest, the Virgin Forest, which was called Histoire vécue. I can't remember what that means. Some kind of stories. This represents a boa snake, which consumed a beast. It's been a long time since I spoke. I majored in French, but I haven't used it in like 20 or 30 years. Okay, so here's a copy of the drawing. Voilà une copie. Okay. And it says in this book, these boa snakes have their prey, they devour their prey entirely whole without chewing. Then so they can't digest it, and they sleep for 6 months for their digestion. So I reflected a lot on the adventures of the jungle, and when it was my turn, or for my part, I tried with a coloring crayon a colored crayon to draw my first drawing, or trace my first drawing. So my drawing number one, it was like this. Drawing number one. J'ai montré mon chef-d'œuvre aux grandes personnes et je leur ai demandé si mon dessin leur faisait peur. So I showed my drawing, my masterpiece, to the grown-ups, and I asked them if my drawing scared them. And they responded to me, why would a hat scare us? But my drawing did not represent a hat. It represented a snake that was digesting an elephant. So I drew the inside of the boa snake, and then the grown-ups could understand. They always needed explanations. My drawing number 2 was like this. Can you see it? There it is. It's going to take me a long time to read it this way, sorry. So let's see. The grown-ups consoled themselves by maybe I might be translating this wrong. Les grandes personnes m'ont conseillé de laisser de côté les dessins. Oh, they convinced me to put aside drawings of serpents, open or closed, in the interest of studying more geography, history, calculus, and grammar. This is how I came to abandon, at the age of 6 years, a magnificent career of artist or painter. I was very discouraged by my lack of success of my drawing number 1 and my drawing number 2. The grown-ups really couldn't understand anything. They never understood anything by itself, and it was exhausting for children to always have to give them explanations. Therefore, I chose another medium, and I learned to fly airplanes. I flew a little bit everywhere around the world. And geography, it's true, exactly true. It did serve me well. I learned to recognize, with the first glance of an eye, China and Arizona. I could tell China from Arizona, and it was very useful if you're lost in the night. So I've had a lot of contact throughout my life with very serious people. I've seen a lot of grown-ups, and I've seen very close up, and it has not improved my opinion. Quand j'en rencontrais une qui me paraissait un peu lucide, je faisais l'expérience de mon dessin. When I meet one that seems to me fairly lucid, I go back to my experience, or I bring to them the experience of my first drawing, my drawing number 1, which I've always saved, because I want to know if this person really is understanding. But always the person responds to me, it's a hat. Therefore, I never talk about boas or virgin forests or stars. They'll show me the door. I talked about bridge, golf, politics, and ties. And that grown-up then is very happy to know such a reasonable man. J'ai ainsi vécu seul, sans personne qui parlait de compte. Okay, so I was wandering alone without anyone else to speak with, truly. About 6 years ago, through an expanse of the Sahara Desert. Something broke in the motor. And I didn't have with me any mechanic, I didn't have any passengers. I prepared myself to try to succeed all by myself, a very difficult repair. For me, it was a question of life or death. I didn't have any water to drink for 8 hours. The first night, I went to sleep. I put myself to sleep in the sand, about 1,000 miles from any inhabited land. I was totally isolated, as if I were in the middle of the ocean. I'm paraphrasing here. So you can imagine my surprise when I woke up in the morning or the next day, when a funny little voice woke me up, and it said, "S'il vous plaît, dessine-moi un mouton. If you please, if you don't mind, could you draw me a sheep? Huh? Dessine-moi un mouton. Draw me a sheep." I jumped up on my feet as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my, j'ai bien frotté mes yeux, like I'm rubbing my eyes really hard. J'ai bien regardé. I looked bien regardé with me closely. Well, you know, I really looked. I saw a little gentleman, completely extraordinary, who was looking at me very seriously. And here's the best portrait I could make. Okay, this is yeah, this is the best portrait I could later try to make of him. But my drawing surely is much less ravishing than the model, and that's not my fault. I was very discouraged in my career as a painter by grown-ups at the age of 6 years, and I never really tried to draw except for closed boas and open boas. um, I saw in this apparition my eyes wide with astonishment. I looked at this apparition with my eyes wide with astonishment, and never forget that I was 1,000 miles from any inhabited region. Or my little gentleman seemed to me neither tired nor exhausted, nor dying of hunger, nor dying of thirst, nor dying of fear. He didn't have any appearance or semblance of being a lost child in the middle of the desert, 1,000 miles from any inhabited region. When I tried again to speak, he said, "Mais qu'est-ce que fais-tu là? What are you doing there? What are you doing there?" And he asked me again, or he repeated to me again, very softly, and very seriously, "S'il vous plaît, dessine-moi un mouton. If you please, draw me a sheep." When one is very impressed by mystery, when you're too astonished by a mystery, one has no choice. One can't choose to disobey. I say. No matter how absurd it seemed to me to be 1,000 miles from any inhabited place, and to be in danger of death, I reached into my pocket. I searched around in my pocket for a piece of paper and a pen. And I remembered that I went all my studies of geography, history, calculus, and grammar. And I said to this little gentleman with a little bit of bad humor, evil humor, it's like evil, like he's in a bad mood. I don't know how to draw. And he said to me, "Ça ne fait rien, dessine-moi un mouton." It doesn't matter, draw me a sheep. So since I had never drawn a sheep, I said to him, okay, so I tried. Okay, since I had never drawn a sheep, what I tried to do instead, or to repeat for him, was one of the two only drawings of which I was capable. Celui de boa fermé. So the one of the closed boa, and je fus stupéfait d'entendre le petit. Oh, and I was stupefied to hear the little gentleman respond to me. No, I don't want an elephant inside of a boa. A boa is very dangerous, and an elephant is too cumbrous. It's too heavy and big. But my house where I live, it's very little. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep. Alors, j'ai dessiné. So I drew this first one. And he looked at it attentively. Then, "Non, celui-là. This one here is already sick. Make another." So j'ai dessiné. I drew this one. The second one. And my friend smiled gently, kindly, with indulgence. "You can see very well that is not a sheep, that is a goat. It has horns." So I made once again, therefore, my drawing. But he refused that one, just like the others. Here's that's the last one. he says, this one there is too old. I want a sheep that's going to live a long time. Therefore, with with a lack of patience, because I hastily begun drawing and or taking apart my motor, I scratched out this little drawing here. And I just threw out, this here is the box, the case. This sheep is that you want is inside. I'm sorry. Can you see it there? Here, I'm having a hard time showing this to you. There it is. That's his drawing of a sheep. Okay. And he says, and I was, but I was very surprised to see that this lit up his face this lit up the face of my young judge. This is exactly what I was wanting from you. Do you believe that a lot of grass is needed for this sheep? Why? Because where I live, it's very small. Oh, it'll be enough, surely. And I've given you a small little sheep. He leaned his head toward the drawing. It's not all that small. Oh, look, it's sleeping. And this was how I became acquainted with the Little Prince. Okay, so I'll try to smooth out my delivery here a little bit. It took me a long time to figure out where he came from. The Little Prince, who asked me so many questions, seemed never to hear mine. Is this something? Just some words pronounced by accidents that little by little helped me understand. Therefore, when he saw for the first time my airplane, and I'm not going to try to draw my airplane because that's too much of a drawing, too complicated for me. So he asked me, what is this thing here? Oh, this is not a thing. It flies. It's of an airplane. It's my airplane. And I was very proud to teach him that I fly. And then he cried out, "What? You fell out of heaven?" "Yes," I said modestly. Oh, now that's funny. And the Little Prince had a very, how can I say this, very pretty I don't know how to translate that. It's a little laughter, like little it's I don't know how to translate that. It's like an idiom that doesn't have an English expression. It's so these little laughing sounds. I don't know how to translate. And it irritated me a lot. And I wanted him to take my suffering very seriously, my bad luck very seriously. So I added, then you too came from the sky? From what planet are you? I asked him, I don't even know how to process. I interviewed him, or how can I say this? I was intrigued maybe in the mystery of his presence, and I interrogated him brusquely. You came therefore from another planet? But he didn't respond to me. He shook his head softly or gently, and he looked at my airplane. It's true that down here or down there, you couldn't have come from very far away. Yeah, he kind of lost himself in a reverie, which lasted a long time, and then pulling the sheep out of his pocket, he plunged into a contemplation of his treasure. You can imagine how much I was intrigued by this semi-confidence about other planets, and I forced myself, therefore, to I wanted to know more. Where do you come from, my little man, my little gentleman? Where is this where I live, where you live? Where are you wanting to take my little sheep? And he responded to me after a meditative silence. What's good about this is the case that you drew me, that you gave me, in the night, it will be his little house. Oh, that's true, very true. And if you're gentle and kind, I will give you a cord or a leash to attach to him during the day, and a stake. This proposition shocked the little prince. What, tie him up? What a funny idea. But if you don't leash him, he'll just go wherever. He'll just wander about, never mind where, and he'll get lost. And my little friend had another outbursts of laughter. Where do you think he's going to go? Oh, it doesn't matter where. Right in front of, right in front. Yeah, right in front of himself. Then, after which the little prince remarked very seriously, "It doesn't matter. It's so small where I live." And with a little bit of sadness, maybe, he added, "Right in front of him, he can't go very far." I then, I learned something else, second thing, very important. That this planet of origin, or the planet from which he came, wasn't any bigger really than a house. That couldn't astonish me too much. I knew very well that there were, in addition to the big planets like Earth, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, on which we've given names to, there are hundreds of others which are so small you can't even see them very well with a telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of those, he gives it for its name a number. He'll call it, for example, asteroid 325. I don't know if I've been showing you these pictures. So here's the picture of the little prince, and finding the little planets that just have numbers for names. That's the astronomer. Okay. So I have serious reasons to believe that the planet from which the little prince came was asteroid B612. This asteroid can't be seen. Has not been seen except once with a telescope in 1909 by a Turkish astronomer, and I think that's the drawing I just showed you. It was for a great demonstration that he discovered it or revealed it at the International Congress of Astronomy. But nobody believed him because of his outfit, his clothing. Grown-ups are just like that. Happily for the reputation of asteroid B612, a Turkish dictator imposed on his people, under the pain of death, to dress as Europeans. He's being sarcastic here, okay? So I don't know if you know Saint-Exupéry, like he was anti-colonial. All right, well, I don't know if you know about his history, but he was a cool guy. Anyway, so here's the Turkish astronomer in Western dress, I believe. Okay, so anyways, moving on. So the astronomer presented his demonstration again in 1920 in a very elegant outfit, and this time the whole world they took his advice. They believed him. So I'm telling you the details about asteroid B612, and I'm confident in my number. If I am confident in this number, it's because of these grown-ups. Grown-ups love. Oh, if I'm presenting this number with confidence or like it's important, it's because of grown-ups. Grown-ups love these kind of figures. When you want to when you're making a new friend, you never ask them anything essential. They'll never tell you what is. Or when you're telling them about a new friend, they'll never ask you anything essential or important. They'll ask you. They'll never ask you what is the sound of his voice. What games does he like? Does he have a collection of butterflies? They'll ask you, how old is he? Does he have any brothers? How many? How much money does he make? Oh, no, how much money does his father make? Excuse me. And how much does he weigh? And and only this way did they think they know about the person. If you tell grown-ups, I've seen a beautiful house with pink, made of pink stones, with geraniums in the windows and doves on the roof. And they won't even be able to imagine this house. You have to say to them, I saw a house that cost 100,000 francs. And then they'll cry out, oh my God, that's pretty. Then you tell them the proof that the little prince existed is because he was ravishing, because he laughed, and because he wanted a sheep. Because he wanted a sheep, that proves that he exists. And if one wants a sheep, it proves one exists. And they'll shrug their shoulders and they'll treat you like a child. But if you tell them the planet from which he came was asteroid B612, oh, then they'll be convinced, and they'll leave you alone with their questions. They're like that. I can't remember what this next thing. Il ne faut pas leur en voilà. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I forgot. Les enfants. Okay. So children have to be very indulgent toward these grown-ups. But for sure, we can understand that I don't know. If you understand life, you just kind of mock numbers. So I'm going to be starting this story in the fashion of fairy tales. I just like to say, there was once this time a little prince who lived on a planet just barely bigger than he was, and who needed a friend. For those who understand life, that has more of an air of truth. Okay, so we're gonna give you a picture. That's how he wants to start the story. Okay. Because I don't want you to read my book too lightly. I feel some chagrin at telling my memories. It's been 6 years since my friend went away with his sheep. I'm trying here to describe so that I don't have to forget. It's sad to forget a friend. Everyone, not everyone in the world has a friend. And I could become like the grown-ups who aren't interested in these kind of things, in nothing but figures. So it's for this reason that I've taken up again my box of colored crayons. It's hard to put into drawing at my age when you haven't when you have not made any others except tentative drawings of a closed boa and an open boa at the age of 6 years old. But I will try, surely, to make these portraits as close to resembling the resemblance is as close as possible. But I'm not certain at all that I can succeed. A drawing, the drawing's going to, no matter what, not look different than so I forget a little bit the details. In this one, the little prince is too big. In another one, he'll be too little. And I'm hesitating about the color of his clothes. So I try here and there, sometimes better, sometimes worse. I kind of fool myself or get confused about certain details that are even the most important. So in this, it's important to, please pardon me. My friend didn't give me a lot of explanations. He believed me to be maybe like himself, but unfortunately, I don't know how to see sheep through cases or boxes. I'm maybe a little more like grown-ups. I have grown old. Each day I learn something on this planet, or more about his. Each day I learned something more about his planet, about his departure and his voyage, his journey. It happened slowly, gently, by accident, through his reflections. And it was this way, on the third day, that I learned about the drama of the baobabs. It was courtesy of the sheep, which let's see, brusquely the little prince asked me about, expressing a grave doubt. C'est bien vrai, n'est-ce pas, que les moutons mangent des arbustes? Is it true? It's true, isn't it, that sheep eat bushes? Oh yes, it's true. Oh, good, I'm happy. I didn't understand why it was so important that sheep would eat bushes, but the little prince added, by consequently, or by, is there any chance that they eat also baobabs? I remarked to the little prince that baobabs really were not bushes, but they were big trees, as big as churches, and even if he brought a troop of elephants, a herd of elephants in, the herd of elephants wouldn't be able to eat up a single or trample a single baobab. The idea of a herd of elephants made the little prince, laugh, had a fit of laughter. They'd have to stand one on top of the other. But he remarked wisely, the baobabs, before they grow up, they have to start out as small. Well, that's exactly right. But why do you want sheep to eat little baobabs? He responded to me, "Ah, well, come on." I don't know how to pronounce it. That's a slang word. Well, come on, look. Come on, come see it as if it's like obvious evidence. It's evidence, self-evident. That's the word, self-evident. And he with great effort, as if it took me great effort to understand. Um, oh, with great effort, I was able to understand, and use of my intelligence, I was finally able to understand by myself this problem. In effect, this planet, on the planet of the Little Prince, um, he had, or it had, like all planets, some good plants and some evil or bad, naughty plants. Um, Consequently, the good grains and the good grass, the good plants and the bad seeds and the bad seeds. Okay, so there were bad seeds of the bad plants and good seeds of the good plants, right? And so the seeds were invisible. They sleep in secret in the earth until they imagine, um, in their own imagination, they decide to wake up. And then they wake up and timidly they push their way up to the sun. Um, uh, how can I say it? And uh, they what? I don't know. They come up through the earth, right? They toward the sun, inoffensively, and it could be a radish, a sprout. That's the word. They sprout as a radish or a little rose. They could they want to push up, however they want. And but if it's a bad plant, if you'll start to recognize it quickly as it's spreading. Or if it's terrible seeds on a planet of the Little Prince, it was the seed of, so the terrible seeds on the planet of the Little Prince were the seeds of the baobabs, and the sun, the soil on this planet was infested with it, and one baobab, if it was found too late, you could never get rid of it. It could encumber the whole planet. It would tear it up by its roots. And since the planet was so little, if the baobabs became too numerous, they could destroy it, shatter it. Okay, so this is when he was talking about how if there were elephants on his planet, they'd all have to stand on top of each other. And this is him rooting out the baobabs, the seeds of the baobabs, or the little saplings. What do you call it? Sprouts. So you're probably figuring out, when I'm reading in French, I can see pictures. This is how I do. Like, I know what it means, but I don't translate it into English in my own head. So I struggle with that, going back and forth between languages. So sorry that my translating is a little annoying here. But it's kind of better in French than it is in any of the English translations I've read. So I'm hoping this makes sense to you too. Okay, so the next part is c'est une question de discipline. It's a question of discipline. He told me later. The Little Prince told me later. When I finished my toilette, when I finished getting myself ready in the morning, it's necessary for me to use more carefully, faire la toilette. And in French, that means faire la toilette. It means you're getting yourself ready. It's the things you do for you, like combing your hair, brushing your teeth, washing your face, all that. That's faire la toilette. It's I don't know if there's an expression like that in English, but it's like just all the things you do for self-care to clean yourself, your hygiene stuff you do in the morning to get yourself ready for the day. So he's saying he's doing that to the planet. What was I? Okay. Yeah. So he. Yeah. So he's fait la toilette the planet. It's necessary to stringently, regularly uproot the baobabs and distinguish them from the little rose bushes, which they look so very much like when they're very young. It's a very annoying, boring job, but it's also easy. It's very easy. And one day he confided in me. Okay, so he asked me, or I don't know how to say this. He requested of me to really apply myself to try a beautiful drawing, so that I could. Oh, to put this into the head of children where I live. If they travel one day, he said to me, this could really help them. It's sometimes very inconvenient to put off till later your work, but when it comes to baobabs, it's always a catastrophe. I knew a planet inhabited by a very lazy person. He was very negligent towards. He neglected 3 bushes, and okay, and so guided by the little prince, I drew this planet there. This their planet. That's kind of how they say it in French. He drew this their planet. I don't like to take the tone of a moralist, but the danger of baobabs is so little known, and the risks run by them are so dangerous on this asteroid, and they're so considerable that just for once, I'm going to make an exception to my usual reserve. I'm telling you, children, pay attention to baobabs. I was forewarning my friends of a danger, which I myself have ignored, even myself, without knowing it. And so I've drawn this. I've worked very hard on this here drawing. This here drawing. That's really what he's saying. Yeah. The lesson. This lesson is worth taking a lot of pains, taking a lot of effort. You might ask yourself, why haven't you in this book other drawings as grandiose as this drawing of the baobabs? The response is very simple. I tried, but I didn't succeed. When I drew these baobabs, I was animated by feelings of urgency. So here's the baobabs. Sorry. Animated by feelings of urgency. Oh, little prince, I understand. Little by little, I came to understand little by little how melancholy your little life was. For a long time, you didn't have any distractions from your sorrow except for sunset. Coucher de soleil. It means the sun is going to bed. Coucher de soleil. It's a lot prettier in French. So it's, coucher de soleil. J'ai appris I learned this new little detail the fourth day in the morning when he said to me, J'aime bien les coucher de soleil. Oh, well, coucher de soleil. He said, I really like sunsets. Let's go see a sunset. But we have to wait. Wait for what? Wait until the sun sets. Um, you would have, how can I say this? You would have the air of being very surprised, and then you would have laughed too. He said to me, um, they, I see them all the time where I live. In effect, when it's noon in the United States, the sun, everyone knows, sets in France. So you would have to go to France in 1 minute to witness this sunset. Unfortunately, France is way too far away. But on the little planet, he only had to move his chair a few steps, and you could watch every time as many times as you want. One day, I watched the sunset 44 times. And a little later, he added, you know, when one is very sad, one really loves sunsets. The day of the 44 times, were you very sad then? But the little prince didn't respond. The fifth day, always thanks to the sheep. The secret of the life of the little prince was revealed to me. He asked me very brusquely, without any preamble, as if it was the fruit of a problem he'd been meditating in silence on for a long time. This sheep, if it eats the bushes, will it also eat flowers? A sheep eats whatever it comes across, even flowers with thorns. Even flowers with thorns? Yes, even flowers with thorns. Well, then the thorns, what good are they? I don't know. I'm very preoccupied right now trying to devise something to close my motor, or something that's broken in my motor, very broken. I'm taking great, painstaking pains. I'm very worried about beginning. And this situation appears to me very serious. And water to drink. I don't not have enough water to drink is making me very cranky, and it's making things worse. The thorns, what purpose did they serve? This is the petit prince, the little prince speaking. The thorn. So he's asking the thorns, what purpose did they serve? The little prince would never give up a question. He would never renounce a question once he had posed it. And I was very irritated about my, I don't know motor parts in French, boulon, some part of the motor. And I responded, n'importe quoi. It didn't matter to me what I said. Thorns, they don't serve any purpose. They're worthless. They're just a pure nuisance or they're just the flowers being a part of the flowers. They're just being um, the flowers are just doing it to being annoying or mean. Oh, amazing. After a silence, he spoke to me sharply with a sort of rancor. I don't believe you. The flowers are weak. They're naive. The hard word is if it keeps failing, I'm gonna have to jump start it or I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to strike it with a hammer. That's what he's gonna say. The little prince. So that's what he's thinking about. He's thinking about his hammer and his work he's doing. Okay. The little prince disrupted. Not just interrupted, like stirred up once again, anew my reflections. So you believe you believe that the flowers. Listen, no. I don't believe anything. I'll just respond. I will answer anything at all, whatever. That's n'importe quoi. That means whatever. I'm busy. I'm busy with very serious things. He looked at me stupefied. Serious things. He saw me, my hammer in my hand, and my hands covered black with oil. Um, bent over an object which to him seemed very ugly. You talk like grown-ups. That struck me with shame, a little shame. But pitiless, I added, you're confused about everything. You're mixing everything up. Now he was very irritated, really irritated. He shook his hair in the wind, his golden hair in the wind, in the breeze. It's wind. Yeah, he just shook his golden hair in the wind. I know a planet where there's a certain man, Monsieur, gentleman. I don't know. He's saying Mister, and he never smells a flower. He never looks at a star. He's never loved anyone. He doesn't do anything except adding things up. And all day long he repeats to himself, I am a serious man, just like you. I am a serious man. And he's inflated with, swelled up, gonflé. He's swelled up with pride. But this isn't a man, this is a mushroom. What? A mushroom. The little prince then was very pale, and pale with anger. It's been millions of years that flowers have fabricated their own thorns. They've made for themselves thorns. And it's been millions of years that sheep ate those flowers anyway. And isn't it serious to look for and understand why they go to so much trouble to manufacture thorns that don't do anything ever? They never do anything for any reason. Okay, I don't know how to even try. They never are worth anything ever. And isn't it important, this war between the sheep and the flowers? Isn't it more serious and more important than the additions of a fat red man? And if I know myself, if I know a flower unique in this world that doesn't exist anywhere else except on my planet, and if one little sheep might annihilate in one in just one blow like this one morning, without realizing, without rendering it, without accounting for what it does. Isn't that important? Isn't that important? That he got red, and then he said, reprised. He started up again. If someone loves a flower that exists without parallel, it's the only one of its kind in all the millions and millions of stars. That's enough for him just to be happy when he looks at it. He says to himself, my flower is my flower is my flower is there somewhere. But this sheep eats the flower. That for him is all of a sudden as if all the stars in the world went out. All the stars were extinguished. And nothing's more important than that. He couldn't say anything else. He burst suddenly, brusquely into sobs. The night had fallen. I put down my tools. And I how can I say? Okay. I mocked myself well for this hammer, these tools, the thirst, the even death. There had been on one star, one planet, mine, on Earth, a little prince to console. I took him in my arms. I cradled him. I said to him, the flower that you love is not in danger. I will draw a muzzle for the sheep, for your sheep. I will draw a fence for the flower. I didn't know what. I didn't know anymore what to say. I felt very clumsy. I didn't know how to reach him, how to reconnect with him. It's so mysterious, the country of tears. I learned to know much better this flower. There were always on the planet of the Little Prince very simple flowers. They were surrounded or ornamented. They were covered with just one single row of petals, and they did. I don't know. They didn't take up much space, and they didn't bother anybody. They would appear one morning in the grass, and then they would kind of extinguish themselves at night. They would wilt. And by night. So, but they would have grown in a day. They would have grown from seed in a day, of a seed brought from who knows where, and the Little Prince. Oh, okay. But there had been a seed one day from, or there had been a sprout one day from a seed that came in from who knows where, and the little prince had watched very closely its sprouting, which didn't resemble the other sprouts. Maybe it was a new kind of baobab. But it stopped growing. This little bush stopped growing, and it started to prepare a flower. Did I show you the pictures on this? I did not show you the pictures. Sorry about that. First of all, I've skipped a lot of pictures here. Okay, after the baobab, did I show you the part where he was looking at the sunsets? This is how he would watch the sunset and move his chair and see a lot of different sunsets. Okay, so hold on a second. And then this was the picture of his flower. The only flower of its kind to him. There's no other like it in the universe. And right, that's the page we're on now. Right. This is where he's like watching it grow. This is the page we're on now. He's watching it grow and getting to know it. Okay, so what he said was, so where were we? Okay, it was preparing to bud a flower, right? This little bush that he didn't know what it was initially. And the little prince was oh, okay. It's the little prince who was what's his name? He was kind of helping with I don't know how he was helping, but he's kind of witnessing, I guess, the growth or the self-installation of an enormous blossom, and he was feeling that this was going to be a miraculous apparition. But the flower wasn't finished yet. Oh, the flower wasn't finished yet at preparing herself to be beautiful in the shelter of her green chamber. She chose with care her colors. She dressed herself slowly. She adjusted one by one her petals. She did not want to come out all all, I don't know. She didn't want to just burst out, and she didn't want to appear. Oh, she didn't want to. Okay, that's what she didn't want to appear except in the full radiance of her beauty. Yes. She was such a coquette. Her mysterious toilette took days and days. And then one morning, just at the hour that the sun was rising, she showed herself. And she, having done all that work with precision, spoke, almost singing, I'm waking up. I'm barely waking up. It's so hard for me to wake up. I beg your pardon. I'm already such a mess. Décoiffé. My hair is such a mess. The little prince then could not contain his admiration. But you are so beautiful. Oh, now, responded softly the flower. I have been born at the same time as the sun. Le petit prince devina bien. Okay, the little prince knew right away that she was not very modest. but she was so moving. C'est l'heure, je crois, du petit déjeuner. It's the hour, I believe, of breakfast. She added soon. Are you going to have the goodness to give it to me? Dispense it to me? She's speaking very fancy. Do you have the bounty to dispense it to me? And the little prince, totally confused, looked everywhere for some fresh water to serve to the flower. And soon she started to, quickly torment him with her vanity, a little bit pridefully. One day, for example, speaking of her 4 thorns, she had said to the little prince, they could come here, tigers with their claws. This is the next thing after she's like, bring on the tigers. Okay. There are no tigers on my planet. The little prince objected. And besides, tigers don't eat grass. I am not a weed. Okay, Arab could be a plant or a weed too. Okay, I am not a weed. Softly responded the flower. And here's a tiger attempting to eat the rose. Note the 4 thorns. Okay. Pardon me. Okay, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of tigers, but I have a horror of drafts of air. You don't have any around, do you? A horror of currents of air. There's not a chance for a plant. That's not very good luck for a plant. That's what he said. The little prince remarked, this flower is really complicated. Okay, so at nighttime you're going to put a globe onto me. A globe, put me under glass. It's going to be very cold where here where you live. It's very badly situated. It's very badly positioned. Now, where I come from, but she was interrupted. After all, she came from some kind of a seed. She could not possibly have known other worlds. Humiliated to have been found out, pulled up and, have been found out just about to tell a lie. So such a naive lie. She had coughed, 2 or 3 times to put the little prince in the wrong. Is that a breeze? Look, I will. Is there any around? Basically, the glass that she asked for. I'm gonna go. I'll go and look around. While you're talking to me, I guess. So she was able to, with her coughs, inflict some remorse in him. All right, so here he is, trying to protect her. So then the little prince, with the great will of his love, in spite of himself, had soon doubted her. But he took very seriously words that had little importance, and he became very unhappy. I should not have listened, he confided in me one day. One should One should never listen to flowers. You should look at them and smell them. Um, Mine, how can I say this? Like radiantly perfumed my planet, but I never knew it. Never knew how to rejoice in it and enjoy it enough. This story of Claus, which had which left me so aghast, which so shocked me. It should have slowed me down and made me wait. And he confided in me a little bit more again. I didn't understand anything then. I should have judged her on her acts and not on her words. She surrounded me with perfume. She I don't know. I'm trying to think of an English word for this, but yeah, these words are hard to translate. So she made everything beautiful. She perfumed my world, and she made everything clear and light. She never tried to run away from me or make me angry. She didn't try to infuriate me. I should have guessed at the tenderness behind her poor ruses, her poor lies. Flowers are so contradictory, but I was too young to know how to love her. Okay, so again, that's the part where this comes in. Okay, I'm just going to read this last chapter about how she got there, okay? And then I'll stop because this is getting to be a long story. Okay, I believe that it would be worthwhile or profitable. How can I say? I believe he profited but from a migration of wild birds. One morning, I was putting my planet in order very well, carefully. I was tending very carefully active volcanoes. There are 2 volcanoes, active volcanoes on the planet. It's very convenient for heating up breakfast in the morning. The little prince also had an extinct volcano. So I said to him, one never knows. So he, oh no, I'm sorry, not I said to him. He said, one never knows. So he worked equally, tended equally the extinct volcano. If they were well tended, the volcanoes softly warmed or gently warmed and regularly without eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are like fire in the chimney. Evidently, on our planet, we are we're much too small to tend our own volcanoes. That's why they cause us so much trouble. The little prince uprooted also with some melancholy, a little bit of melancholy, the last sprouts of baobabs. He believed they would never come back. But all these little familiar tasks that he did this morning were extremely, how did you say, extremely sad. He did extremely gently or with some sadness. And when he tended one last time the flower, he prepared to put on it one more time the shelter of its glass globe. He discovered he yes, what came to him, he felt like he wanted to cry, or he felt like it's like it crept up on him, this feeling like he needed one. It doesn't translate. An impulse to cry, like it was inside of him. He discovered it. All right, it was just coming up. Adieu, dit-il à la fleur. Goodbye, he said to the flower, but she did not respond to him. Okay, so this is him tending, very carefully tending the volcanoes. Adieu, répéta-t-il. So, goodbye, he said again. The flower coughed, but it wasn't because of her cold. I've been silly, she said to him at last. I beg your pardon. Be happy. He was surprised by the absence of reproaches. He stayed there, disconcerted, with the glass globe in the air. He did not understand her calm, sweet softness, gentleness. Mais oui, je t'aime, lui dit la fleur. But of course I love you, the flower said to him. Tu n'en as rien su par ma faute. You never knew. That's right. Okay, but of course I love you, said the flower to him. You never knew it, and that's my fault. It doesn't matter. It has no importance now. But you've been as silly as I have. Be happy. Put the globe. Let the globe rest. Tonki. Just let it be. I don't want it anymore. But the wind. I'm not so enrhumé. My cold's not so bad as that. The fresh air of the night will do me some good. I am a flower. But the animals. Il faut bien que je dois chenille si je veux connaître les papillons. Oh, it's good if I experience 2 or 3 bugs if I want to know butterflies. It seems that it's so beautiful. If not, who would visit me? You will be far away. As for large beasts, I'm not afraid of any of them. I have my claws. And she showed naively her 4 thorns. Then she added, comme ça. Oh, don't strain like that. It's I don't know why, distasteful. You've decided to leave. Go away. Because she did not want him to see her cry. She was a flower, very, very proud. So proud. Okay, so that's it for now. I wanted to read through the part of the flower, and I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing. I mean, not tonight, obviously, but the part in the middle about all the little asteroids and all the annoying grown-ups. I don't know if we need to read that part, but I might pick up and read the part about the fox later, some other night. So anyway, that was some of the Little Prince. Good night. Oh, good. Now my kid watched it, and I got to see this. Oh, I'm glad. Okay, so if Anna enjoyed it, then it was worth it. Okay, good night, everybody.